we want parents to go tell their friends that this camp is awesome, right? That only happens when they trust the people doing it. And when you deliver on the promise too, right? Like our promise to these parents is, hey, bring your kid to camp. They're actually going to get better at their sport. And we're actually going to teach them about leadership and mindset stuff too, that often is talked about in sport, but not really taught and not really emphasized.
Welcome back to the TrustBuilt Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Bennett, and today's guest, we've got actually become a friend of mine, Luke Gromer with RYG Athletics and, the Nike sports camps.
Yeah, we're a provider of Nike sports camps.
Yeah. Okay. So welcome to the show, Luke.
Thanks, Alan. It's good to be with you, man. I'm appreciative of you, and I'll actually start, if that's okay, and hijack and just say I'm really grateful for you, and you provided a bunch of value to me for free at the own expense of your time, coaching me through a TEDx talk and just sharing your experience in speaking and communicating, and helped me a ton take my talk from I thought it was pretty good, and then you helped me really take it to the next level. So I'm super grateful for you and your willingness to be generous with your time. And grateful to sit down with you again and hope that I can return the favor in some small way.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I've not gotten a compliment on the show like that before.
Yeah.
You got me all warm and fuzzy now. So let's start there. Let's talk about that TED Talk and the topic and why you chose the topic in your TED Talk.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of a long story. I'll try to keep it fairly brief. My life growing up was really shaped in a couple of places. It was shaped in sports and it was shaped in camps. And going through college, I was studying education, started coaching at the end of college, graduated, started teaching and coaching full-time, kind of got bit by the bug, just fell in love with coaching. And as I'm getting into it, trying to figure out how do I do this? How do I do it well? I was really fortunate and grateful that I actually had a bunch of great coaches in my journey, which is, I would say, uncommon for a bunch of athletes, especially multi-sport athletes. There's just a lot of bad coaching, a lot of people that have really negative experiences with their coaches. I was really fortunate to have a bunch of positive experiences with my coaches. Like the worst thing I could say about one of my coaches was, great dude, just didn't know how to coach. And, but like, I'll take that any day over the people that experienced abuse, manipulation, et cetera, at the hands of their coach, right? Or those really unhealthy environments that can often be perpetuated by coaches. So I'm learning how to coach, trying to do it well. And one of the things that becomes glaringly obvious when you coach, and especially when you do it professionally, is that there is almost no qualification for becoming a coach, right? For example, to get my degree in education and be qualified to teach children, I had to get a 4-year degree and drop $80,000, right? And now I'm qualified to to teach kids. But on the flip side of that, if you look at just specifically youth sport, the qualifications are like, do you have a pulse? And did you maybe play at some point? And like, watch this 20-minute training video and now go coach this group of kids that just because you're called coach and hold a whistle, like you have a massive platform and influence over their lives. They look up to you. They hang on your words. You are the person that's controlling this experience that they care about in the sport. And so as I was beginning my coaching journey, it was just mind-boggling to me that this platform that has so much impact on people and in our society and country as a whole. I mean, coaches are a massive factor in, or a huge influence on our children, right? Just the amount of kids that are playing sport and the weight of that platform, like I talked about. And so I was just really struck by like, man, this is a problem that there's so many coaches that are often really well-intentioned. Like they're there for good reasons, doing the best they can, but they're often really ill-equipped to provide a great experience to kids. And I don't necessarily think that it's their fault. I think it's on the people that are organizing and running these experiences to ensure those people are set up for success, not only to give the athletes an experience that helps them grow as a player, but as a person too. So yeah, I just developed that passion for it. My life was shaped in sport. I was grateful for good coaches. And then on a whim, like I don't even know what this was now, 6-7 years ago, I filled out this form on the TEDxFavo website that said, are you interested in speaking? And I filled it out and said, yes, I'd love to talk about the need for coach education and kind of what's wrong in youth sport in our country. And the organizers contacted me and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you give this talk. And I was like, dang, whoops. I'm not really qualified to give it. But yeah, I want to do this. This is an incredible opportunity. And so that just kind of kickstarted me on this journey of if I'm going to give this talk, I want it to be good. I want to do it well. But also, I'm not the most credible person in the space to give this talk. I'm passionate about it. I've learned about it. I've dove into the research on it. But I don't have decades of experience. I don't have, you know what I mean? So it was just I've got to lend some credibility to the ideas that I want to share on this topic. So it ended up starting me on this journey of interviewing a bunch of coaches and researchers and thought leaders, et cetera, in the coaching space. Long story short, originally that talk didn't happen. COVID put a stop to it. But then I guess now 6-7 months ago, the organizers came back and said, hey, we're going to do this talk now. Do you still want to give your talk? And I was like, yeah, okay. Now I'm considerably more qualified than I was back then originally. And even the talk had shifted a little bit and my ideas and what I'd learned and what the research had said had been updated. And so, yeah, that was kind of what led to my passion for the topic. And the title of the talk was The Missing Ingredient in Youth Sport, which the spoiler of that is the missing ingredient is fun. And that's the number one reason kids quit. And those kids that quit, they drop out and they miss out on a bunch of lifelong benefits of sport participation, right? From earning more as adults to better physical activity as adults to stronger relationships with your peers to closer ties to your community. These kids that are dropping out are missing out on a lot of those benefits. And they say the number one reason they stopped is because it wasn't fun. And so how do we actually put fun back into it so that we can keep kids in the game, right? Because I think it's 9 out of 10 kids at the age of 7, they're playing at least one sport. But by the age of 13, 70% of those kids have quit sport altogether. So it's between the ages of 7 and 13, we're getting something really wrong that's leading to these massive attrition rates. And I think there's a few things that we could do in the sports space that could hopefully buck that trend and keep kids in the game so that they become better people, better adults, more active, all the downstream positive impacts of children being engaged in sport experiences that grow them physically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially in those environments. So that was a long story to say, that's kind of what led to that topic and just my passion for it.
Yeah, there was one part early on in your speech, you were talking about your wife's cookies and the missing ingredient. And you touched on that just now. You were talking about the missing ingredient, and the missing ingredient is fun.
Yeah.
And that, and I'm as my wife says, I am projecting onto this and I'm going to project on this. I've had coaches in the past that it was all about the win, right? And that was the only goal, was to win and what they had to do in order to win. And that meant all these kids sit on the bench. So either you were a determined kid on the bench that one day I'm going to get there and I'm going to get my chance, and they're patient. And a lot of kids don't have that patience.
Yeah. I think it's worth stating too, the conversation in coaching and sport and fun and playing time, it's all very nuanced, right? It depends on the age and stage and the context. But yes, if the primary aim and the only aim is just winning, it's going to produce a very different set of behaviors from a coach than if the goal is to first develop people and give them an incredible experience in the sport. And it's also worth recognizing, right, that as these athletes and these coaches that are coaching junior high, high school, college, pro, whatever, winning matters there, right? It's connected to their job security, and that's okay. And it's fine even at the young levels to want to win, to compete, to try to win. But it is essential that people are aligned on what the experience at that level is about, right? And to the point of if we're talking about the youngest levels of youth sport, winning it just does not matter there. And your 8-year-old winning a game is not better for them than falling in love with the game and developing an enjoyment of it, right? And so I think that's one of the key factors of just coaches recognizing what age and stage are you at and are you leading, and what do those athletes at that age and stage in front of you need, right? Because as you get to the higher levels of high school or college, yeah, like the goal is to win here, right? But I think even at that place, the thing that maybe needs to shift for coaches and or for everyone around sport is, that's great. How do we compete and try to win and at the same time build people, right? And set them up for success in life. And I just don't think those things have to be mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah.
We can perform at a high level and we can build people up and set them up for success in every area of their life beyond sport. I think it's just nuance, right? It depends on the age and stage. And at the same time, we've got to recognize that we can do both of these. We can build players, we can compete, we can try to win, and we can focus on developing people and ensuring that like this experience at its core in sport is still fun, right? That's why everyone started playing. Like, it's fun and it still needs to be, regardless of the level you're at, right? Even some of the highest coaches in the NBA would be like, we try to keep it fun because that's why we're all here. We love it. It should be fun. So,
yeah, when I think about sports and I always like to connect it to business world, and what you just described there, successful organizations are there the ones that thrive are the ones that are founded in purpose and accountability. And then there's trust. Those three things, if they're not present there, those business or whatever kind of organization it is, they do not thrive. I'm not saying they won't be successful, but they usually don't have value, meaning somebody wants to buy that business or acquire that business or grow that business into something else. So purpose, accountability, and trust in the sports world can and does look quite a bit different. But what I have seen, especially in the organizations, let's just take Nick Saban in Alabama, for example. Now, this is all before all this NIL really became such a major deal. Yeah. And that's a whole, I don't want to go down that path. I can't believe I just brought that up, but I don't want to introduce that yet. But what I'm talking about, when you hear these successful coaches talk about success, they're throwing words like culture and connection and accountability and purpose and all these things. And that's what you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that's one of the things that drew me to coaching, why I love it so much, right? Coaching is really just like, how can we galvanize this group of people for a common mission together and a common purpose? And how can we align everybody that's involved here around what is our purpose, right? Like, is our purpose just to win, right? Okay, if it is, like, just state it, be honest about it, and then what goes there. Is our purpose more than that? Like, I'm coaching my son's first grade basketball team right now. The purpose is that they all have fun, they get better, and they want to play again. And I'm really clear with everybody about that. Like, that's why we're doing it, right? So that they enjoy it and they want to keep doing it. That's what that's about. So I think getting clear on your purpose is super key and super important if you want to bring a group of people together and try to move them towards a common goal. Yeah. And then you talked about accountability and trust. Like, do we have shared standards here? Have we agreed on what's acceptable and what's not acceptable? And what happens when that's violated? And again, context matters. Like, with a group of first graders, this is a lot less essential than the junior high basketball team I was coaching a couple of years ago, where a couple of my best players were extremely challenging to coach, right? And yet it was still trying to galvanize this group of like, we've got to move towards this goal together, and we've all got to adhere to these standards together, hold each other to these standards, because especially as a coach or as a leader in any organization, right? I think the worst thing you could do is say that this is our purpose and then your behaviors don't match it, right? And or I'd say the second thing is, these are our standards, but I don't actually hold everyone to them, right? So I have my high performers and I kind of let them do what they want because they drive wins for us, but everybody else recognizes that, right? And I'm trying to hold Johnny to the standard, but I'm not holding Dave, and Dave's a high performer. Johnny's like, what? Johnny doesn't trust me.
right?
Yeah.
What you say and what you do doesn't match. What you really care about is just winning, right? Because of your behaviors as a coach. And so, yeah, to what you were saying there in sport or in business, it's like just leading people. If there's not an alignment between what you say matters and what you do, there's just no way to maintain trust in a group. If you lose trust, like you've lost your team. Like there was a
Yeah.
there was a 4th or 5th grade basketball team I coached a few years ago where I lost the trust of an influential kid on that team. He had sway with his peers, and his parents, I don't think, trusted me, and I think they were saying things to him that were undermining that too. But I totally lost the team, right? Just because he didn't trust me anymore. This kid didn't, and so it spread, et cetera. And as I look back, and I was like, now there's things I would have done differently there to try to maintain that. And then there's also the reality of like sometimes an outside voice can get in there and derail things too. And you could do everything right. But yeah, the alignment of actions and purpose and accountability and follow through. Yeah, if you don't have those things, you're not going to have trust on a team.
Yeah, you're talking a little bit. What I'm translating there is character. You know, do what you say you're going to do, and stick to the criteria of what we're supposed to operate around. That's all character stuff. And that, there's been a couple of coaches in the past that I have had, and character was very strong, but maybe their credibility wasn't, right? So they had high character, but you couldn't depend on them to consistently do the same thing. And I share a story I call the watermelon moment. So during 2-a-days football, at the very first practice, we had a coach, his name was Johnny Plummer, and he had cut up watermelon for us at the end of practice. And when I reflecting back on it, that moment was not about the watermelon as a refreshment. It was his moment to get us to listen to his message. And that practice was hard, and we really enjoyed the watermelon. Yeah. We had pink stains all over everything. But it was the moment where he had captured our attention, and that's when he explained to us what it was like to be a Washington school general. Right. And then, man, it was impactful. And when that coach left shortly after that, that's when so did the winning season started not so common after that.
Yeah, I think players in a sport context or people in a business context, and I'm not going to take credit for this. I think it may come from a Popovich quote. But players, people, they want to know a couple things about their coach or their leader. Do you care about me? And can you help me get better? Right? And like that coach that you're describing there, it was clear that he cared about you. As I was bringing us watermelon at the end of these hard practices, right? And then even time back to what we were talking about earlier, like he's living out these values, this purpose that he's talking about. It's about more than just football here. And then I'm guessing too, it's like, well, during our practices, we actually got better. Like we actually improved, we grew, we saw some of the fruit of that in the results on the field, et cetera. Yeah, I just think it can't be understated how important it is for your people to know that that's you, that you care about them, and that you're committed to them growing and them getting better. Like that's the core of trust in coaching and leadership.
I want to take a step back about this kid that you lost on that, and not to dig at you, but to kind of talk through that, because that happens a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, it really it does. So let's unpack that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and I have to think about it a little bit more. It was. Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. It was a combination of, there were probably some spots like in our season or practices where I didn't prepare them enough for some things that we encountered, right? It's like that was on me. And then there was the reality of like the team wasn't that skilled and was often just outmatched in our games. So we got beat a bunch, right? And so how do you maintain the belief and trust when the results aren't good?
So his him? Yeah, his expectations were not met, I guess. Is what I'm
probably
hearing.
Some of that, and probably some of his parents, right? And the kid, the kid was 10 or 11 at the time, right? And so he's a young kid, and so there's nothing bad about that kid, but I think that's probably the crux of like where'd you lose them, right? You're thinking about, as a coach or leader, where do you lose that player? Where do you lose that employee? It's usually somewhere around, there's an expectation not met, or there's a feeling where they feel like, oh, you didn't set me or us up for success. I don't trust you to actually prepare us, or I don't trust you to set us up for success. And then when that happens, it just, it can spread to your whole group or team that you're leading. And then two, as a coach, you're screaming like, what do I do here? How do I try to get it back? Can you even get it back? I think it's why, like, especially you see it at the high levels of sports, like a coach gets canned mid-season, fired mid-season. It's probably just like, there's no trust anymore. Like he lost them, and it's like, okay, time for a change, right? Unfortunately, I think like that happens in sport and business, et cetera.
It could be, and I don't know the parents, but the kid could be projecting from the parents feeding, because a 10-year-old kid is not savvy enough
for sure
to really think I'm going to manipulate that. He's not going to do that with severe intention. Now, there may be some, he's being fed, right?
Often, and that's not uncommon in the youth sports space, for a coach's job to be harder because of the messages that parents are sending their kids, and just even how we dialogue about sport with our kids before and after those games. And too often the dialogue can focus on, or really just have like this external locus of control, right? Where it's, what is the coach doing to you? Or what are the refs doing to us? Or all these things outside of our control can be what get dialogued with, especially young athletes often, right? Instead of the dialogue focusing on this internal locus of control. What do you control in this experience? And what do you actually have agency over when you're practicing and when you're playing, et cetera, right? And so, that can be a hard place as a coach when it seems like someone you're leading, trying to help grow, investing in, has lost trust in you or doesn't trust you, in part because of other voices that they're listening to.
Yeah.
And I think as coaches and leaders, we should always take like a hard look in the mirror, like, what should I have done differently or better? And then also recognize there's some things that are just totally out of our control. And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
Yeah. When I run into businesses and they say, oh, we got a couple of toxic employees or a toxic employee, depending on the size of the company, there may be multiple in there. A lot of times I find that they're just acting out. Like, say, a 10-year-old kid, there's something that's missing in their world, or some need that they need fulfilled, and it's not being met. So therefore, they create that chaos in order to stir things up. And hopefully the shell out is that they end up getting what they want, and they don't. And so, I'm not trying to create drama in this story, but it's like a toxic employee, and it could, whether it's coming through the parents or the kids, actually the foundation of it, but having that situation. And when you're caught in it and you see it, it still is like, I'm in a trap. I see the trap. I clearly understand, but how do I get out of the trap?
Yeah. It's a tough spot to be in as a leader or a coach. You've got to be willing to go have some tough conversations with people. And then at certain times, you got to be willing to just make a change and say, like, this isn't the right fit, right? On this team or in this business, et cetera. And, but before you get to that point, hopefully you can have a conversation where, like you said, you can get to the root of the issue here. Like, this thing probably isn't the actual issue. It's probably something deeper, like you're talking about. Some needs not being met, some expectation isn't being met, something was promised that hasn't been delivered on. You know what I mean? There's so many things that, like my wife and I was talking about, like the fight we're having, it's usually not about that thing. You know what I mean? Like, we're in this conflict, we're fighting about whatever it is, but it's really not about that, right? It's about something else. And I mean, I think that rings true in so many relational contexts with conflict, and when you're coaching and leading a team or leading a business.
Yeah. Let's pivot just a little bit, because we picked on this 10-year-old. As you expand your operation, and you're adding I guess the coaches or the counselors or what do you call them?
Yeah. So we do Nike sports camps, primarily basketball and volleyball. This next summer, we're adding football and a multi-sport camp, potentially lacrosse camp as well. Our camps kind of operate in the structure where we have a high-level director that's planning, leading that camp, a high-level coach of that sport. And then we have a site manager, admin person. And then we have like group coaches those are often college athletes or potentially professional coaches that have margin in their summer to go work at a camp, et cetera. And so, yeah, those are kind of the layers of people that we need. I would say like what I look for in those different people is different because of the role that they play, like in the camp operations. Does that clarify a little bit for you?
Yeah. When you're looking for those people, because I'm thinking now through the parent lens.
Yeah.
Who are these counselors? So there's an assumed trust. Like if my kids were going to go to your camp, I would assume, well, I kind of know Luke. I think he's a good guy, but I don't know these counselors.
Yeah.
There's an assumed trust because they, like you, it transfers. So I'm going to give that coach the benefit of the doubt initially, so that he earns trust because you transferred it to him.
Yeah. Yes. Initially, right? Like people hear the Nike name, or they know me, or they know one of the directors. Like, okay, this is a credible camp.
Yeah.
The reviews from other parents and players are good. Like, I'm going to try this. And so, they offer that trust. They pay money to send their kid, right? They wouldn't if there was no trust or credibility there.
Yeah.
But we are incredibly intentional from the moment that we interact with them via email to the first moment that they show up at camp about increasing that trust and keeping that trust. And so, like last summer, our camps were some of the highest rated Nike sports camps in their umbrella of thousands of camps every summer. And in some conversations with people, or even with my partners at Nike sports camps, like I've said a few times, like, guys, it's not like we're doing one magical thing. We're just doing like 100 things better than most camps, 100 little things that build a ton of trust. And so from the first moment that those kids there, like our staff is placed strategically to welcome them, to greet them. Like our check-in process is smooth. We answer parents' questions. The communication before camp is really thorough. We just think about like what, and I think about it now as a parent with kids, like what would a parent want in this experience, right? What would cause them to leave that first morning thinking, I think this is going to be a great experience. And then when they pick them up at the end of that first day, what do we need to do all day long with their athlete to ensure that athlete hops in the car and is like, that was awesome. I can't wait for tomorrow. Like, we get that, we're doing something right. And that trust is just going to increase, right? And we want parents to go tell their friends that this camp is awesome, right? That only happens when they trust the people doing it. And when you deliver on the promise too, right? Like our promise to these parents is, hey, bring your kid to camp. They're actually going to get better at their sport. And we're actually going to teach them about leadership and mindset stuff too, that often is talked about in sport, but not really taught and not really emphasized. And so if we deliver on those things, like the trust is going to increase. And so, as far as what I'm looking for in staff or directors, it's people that are aligned with that too, that realize, hey, this is how we're going to build trust. This is how we're going to build trust with parents. And we talk a ton about building trust with the athletes. Like, man, these kids show up and they're nervous. Maybe they know a couple of people. Maybe some of them don't know anyone. Some of them sometimes are on the verge of tears in those first few minutes because it's uncomfortable. There's anxiety. And as a staff, like, how do we earn their trust quickly? And so, like all those group coaches, it's very clear, like, hey, your objective on day one is to know every single kid's name in your group by the end of the day. You've got to know it. And at lunch, we're sitting with our kids and eating with them. We're not eating as a staff. And for the directors, hey, you're going to learn every kid's name by the end of the second day. That might be like 80, 90 kids, but like, we're going to do it. And because they've got to trust us. They've got to know that we're actually serious about caring about them as a person during this week. And then two, the other part is, and this really falls heavily on the director and then the group coaches too, but like, they've got to get better. At the end of the first day, they need to feel like, I learned something and I got better at something today. And so when you combine that that secret sauce of connection and helping them build competence and actually helping them grow. It's like the trust that flows from there is really powerful. And then by day 2 and 3, I can look at an athlete and be like, you're not very good at this yet. Like, this is what you need to get better at. And they're like, yeah, I got you. Right. But like, if they showed up on the first day and I was just like, Alan, you're terrible at this. It's like, they're like, who are you? Like, I don't trust you. I don't know you yet. But when you send a bunch of these signals of safety and belonging and care, right, to them consistently, it's like, oh, I trust these people. I can be myself here. They're actually doing what they say they're going to do. Like they said they were here to help us get better, and that's what they're doing. So, yeah, that was a long roundabout way of saying that. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for in those people that are committed to caring about them as people and helping them grow as players, because that's what's going to build trust.
Yeah, we've been talking about trust, but really, what you just described was engagement. Mm-hmm. There's different factors. Trust is a piece of engagement, but you were talking about engagement. Mm-hmm. That was, and when you have, I guess it's also transferred when you have a staff that's engaged. Yeah, it transfers to the kids become engaged, right? So when you talk with the staff that's going to be running this, is that something that's done like before the week before?
Yeah, we get like a training and onboarding process where they do some asynchronous virtual stuff where it's like, hey, this is our vision and mission. This is what matters to us. These are the expectations for you and your role. And then when we meet as a staff the night before camp starts, that's really what's emphasized and reminded from the director or from me if I'm on site for a camp. Guys, this is what it's about. And we try to paint a really clear picture of success. And guys, at the end of this week, we want kids to say 2 things. I got better at the game and I had the best week of my summer. Like it's a big lot. Like that's what we're going for. Like they need to get better, and we want them to have their best week of their summer. And so, and then again, it's just like it's these expectations and habits we set of like, no, as a staff, we eat with them. No, like when they show up, we welcome them and we talk with them. When we're on court, like you're engaged with them. And within the course of our day, we're also pausing to intentionally celebrate, call out, reinforce the behaviors that we're teaching that we want to see, right? We're teaching them about the importance of being selfless. When we go on court and we see a kid being selfless, sometimes we're going to stop the entire gym and just celebrate it in front of everybody, right? And at the end of the day, too, we're going to recognize a couple athletes that lived out those values that we're teaching them, right? If we're talking about being mentally tough, if we're talking about mistake response and moving on to the next thing, well, when we see kids do that, we're going to call it out. Like there's just, I don't know if there's anything more powerful than just noticing progress. Like in the people that you're leading, if you just notice progress, it just lights people up. It's so motivating too. I think about my own life. When people notice my progress or growth, it's like, oh, dang, somebody's paying attention. Oh, wow. They're right. Like I couldn't do that. I can do that now. Yeah.
And, care and recognition are as essential as food and water and shelter. Right. Yeah. People need that in their life in different ways, right? Some people like recognition. They like the big spotlights and neons and the gold, medals, and others are like, fist bump will work. And as long as you acknowledge, but we all need it to some level. So let's talk about a camper that is a return camper. Yeah. What does that look like? One that's been there and he or she comes back. Yeah, man,
hopefully the director remembers their name when they show up. For real, though, that's when, I had kids come back to camp last summer. I'm like, oh, some I was like, I nailed it.
Well, because they change. I mean, their bodies
and
change.
some I'm like, oh, you were here last year. Tell me your name again. Yeah. Right? We want them to come back. Obviously, like from a business standpoint, we want our customers to return. Yes. And then if they come back, they enjoyed it. Like they're not going to come back to something they didn't enjoy.
Well, there's a reason you're expanding, right? Yeah. Because it's working.
Yeah, that's the hope. Hopefully it keeps working.
But it's a never ending process. Yeah. I mean, you've got to, and it's your job as the leader, right? To set the tone and to put everything in motion.
Yeah, and how do we just constantly refine it and make it better? And even just inviting the directors, inviting the staff into that process. Like, what worked this week? And like, we're going to fill out a reflection form at the end of each week where we look at those things and we start to, aggregate the data. What's working? We're going to get feedback from parents. We're going to get feedback from the athletes. What did you like? Give us your feedback so that we know actually how to improve it and make it better. Yeah, I'm going to jump back. You talked about recognition and care. There was something that was jogged in my mind there that I think is so essential. It's something I try to do in the coaching team context, and then even in the camp context too. We're really focused on doing it and intentional with it, is that we recognize people for behaviors that are connected to our values and what matters to us. So like at our camps, we give out a golden plunger because we talk about being selfless and doing the dirty work on the first day. Right. So like that whole week, we're celebrating athletes that are unselfish. And at the end of camp, we award a golden plunger to some kids. Like, it's like this kid has literally a plunger, but like it's meaningful, right?
Yeah.
Because they know, and we all got on the same page. What's it look like to be unselfish in your sport, right? Or we talk about persistence and this quote about hammering away at things and that success takes time. It's not on the first blow. It's like that 100 and first blow sometimes where you see the progress. So we give out a little foam hammer, like a real hammer, probably too much liability there to give a kid. But so like we reinforce those things. And then from the recognition standpoint too, one of the expectations for the directors is that by the end of the week, you give a handwritten note to every person that was on the staff, just thanking them for their contribution, right? And then our group coaches too, they're giving a little individual recognition card to every single one of their athletes at the end of the week at our closing ceremony, where they're calling out something about their leadership and or mindset skills that we saw in them this week. Like just beyond what they could do with a basketball or a volleyball or a football, like what are the qualities that they have that are going to serve them in life? And so I think the power of recognition of your people, it can't be understated. Like you said too, it depends on the age and stage and people like different things. But man, everybody likes being recognized.
Yeah.
And especially for an adult or someone that's headed towards that direction, close to adulthood, like the power of just a handwritten note to say, like, I see you and I appreciate you is so powerful. So powerful.
Yeah, I know we've shared this common affection for the book, Power of Moments.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah. And for those that have not, let's talk a little bit about why that book resonates with you.
Oh, yeah. I'll share a personal reason first.
Okay.
I am a pretty steady, constant person. My wife is very much go with the flow. She's much more fun than I am. She's outgoing, social, life of the party, and that's not as much me. And one of the ideas, and even in like our parenting with our kids, right? I can just tend to be the one that is like the steady disciplinarian, and she's probably the one that's more fun in our family, right? And that's probably fairly common in a lot of marriages and parenting. But one of the ideas that I love from that book, as far as how do we create moments that last? How do we create an experience that marks that moment? He talks about breaking the script, is that sometimes what you need to do is break the script. Like, what is the norm and expectation, and do something differently. So like, again, I'm typically the one who's like, yeah, we're going to bed at the same time the kids are going to bed, et cetera. Like last week, my two younger ones were asleep, and my oldest one has been bugging me like, Dad, when can I watch Star Wars with you? And it was like 8 o'clock. It was already past his bedtime. I was like, Liam, you want to watch it tonight?
Ooh.
And he's like, yeah. And my wife too is like, oh yeah, you should. Like she's like caught off guard by me breaking my own script, right? And we're sitting on the couch watching like 3 times. My son's like, Dad, thanks. This is so cool. Thanks. But I just broke the script.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it created a moment that was meaningful.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love from the book. Just that idea of like, okay, how can you break the script and do something out of the ordinary that makes people feel valued or special? And then the other thing, and this connects back to what we were talking about earlier, that one of my biggest takeaways from that book is that our brains, for whatever reason, we remember the beginning and the end of experiences more than the middle. And so our first impressions of something really stay with us. And our last impression of something really stays with us. And so to that conversation around trust, and when a kid comes to camp or a parent brings their kid to camp on that first day, we're like, we got to crush it, because they're going to remember this first experience, this first impression here. And we got to be dialed in and ready. Our ops have got to be really smooth. We've got to be energetic and welcoming. We got to have music playing. It's got to be excellent, because they're going to remember this first impression. And if they walk up to camp and it's like, nobody's even here to check us in, it's like the trust just, it drops.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're really intentional about those first moments. And then even once the parents leave and we're starting the camp, we're so intentional about, we've got to get them. Like we got to get them right here in this first talk that the director gives. We've got to pull them into this experience by earning their trust and helping them see that we're here to help you get better this week. Right. And so there's some things we do in that first meeting that just are different than what most camps or coaches would do with athletes to hopefully earn that trust and give that initial impression of, oh, this is a little bit different. People are really invested and serious about what they have said they're going to be about. And then go to the end of it, the end of camp, and our brains, we latch on to the end of experiences. And I have to give credit to another organization, PGC Basketball, where I stole and adapted this idea from, but they end all of their camps with, they call them different names at the different camps, but this final challenge, one of their camps, they call it Highlight, which stands for like the joyous celebration. They end their basketball camps with a night that breaks the script. It's different from all the other days and sessions of camp. And it is totally meant to create a memorable experience. They want every athlete that leaves to think back on that moment that happened. Like how we're going to create this magical moment right at the end. Because we're going to remember what happens at the end. We're going to break the script and we're going to just make it super meaningful. And so I took what I learned working camps with them and kind of adapted it to our own camps, but essentially at our basketball and volleyball camps. And as we expand into others, it'll be a part of those camps as well. Our last gym session, we split the athletes up into teams. So between the whole camp. So at some of our camps, we've got like 10 to 14-year-olds. We might have some 10-year-olds with some 13 and 14-year-olds, which is actually like a fairly big age gap when we mix genders, et cetera, if it's co-ed camp, et cetera. So we just split up the teams. We try to make teams as balanced as possible throughout the whole camp. So now all of a sudden they're kind of uncomfortable. They're around people that maybe they weren't connected with first. And they're given some time to get to know their teammates. And hey, this is your team for the rest of the final challenge. We don't finish the final challenge until everyone leaves a winner. You need to learn everything you can about your teammates in the next 10, 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, like they're into this experience. They're talking to each other. They're connecting with each other. At some of our camps then, as a team, they have to take a test on the content we taught them that week. And then they head to the court where they go through stations or drills or games and have to accomplish these certain goals, whatever, right? They go through these different stations. And then we get to like the final game where all the teams at this camp are at one court or one net playing their sport together. And it's this super fun, high energy environment. Everyone's pumped up. But you don't win your way out of the final challenge until your team hits a target score. And so the first team hits the score. Let's say it's 10 points in basketball. They hit 10. Everybody goes nuts and celebrates. They're out, right? So now we have 9 teams left. The next team wins their way out. They go out, right? We keep going down until there's 2 teams left. One of those teams, they win their way out. We just have 1 team left. We're going to like split them up into 2 teams, make them play each other. Now we've only got like 3 kids left in this final challenge, right? Like everyone has been winning their way out. And as they win their way out, we celebrate everybody, go nuts. And now everybody's watching as it just keeps dwindling to only a few kids left, a few athletes left. And then eventually, we split them up. And then eventually we get down to 1 or 2 people left. And that one person or those 2 people have to accomplish some sort of challenge to win their way out. And when that last person or those last people win their way out, everybody goes nuts and celebrates. It's a huge deal, right? But I share that story of like, that's how we create a really impactful moment at the end of the experience. Throughout the rest of the week, our priority as coaches and as the director is how can I get as many kids as active for as long as possible so that we can get the most development and improvement in their game as possible. So we're really intentional about how we divide up the groups, how we organize our games to maximize reps, maximize growth. But I tell our directors, hey, the last day, I don't care about that. That's not what matters. The last day is all about creating an experience that's incredible for them. That's this super high. For some of the kids that come to our camps, I think it's probably going to be the greatest sport experience of their life. Like this made up game that we did at the end of a week of summer camp. We make it this huge deal. They get super into it. But on that day, it's like, hey, it's not about high volume of reps. This is about an incredible, fun experience that they're going to remember and take with them, where they work together as a team, where we get them uncomfortable, where they challenge them. The last one or two kids in that final challenge, usually they're on the brink of tears because they're one of like 70 people. Wow. And they're the last one left, and they have to do something to win their way out, and everybody's watching, right? And every time they do it, right? And even for that kid, then you get to go to them like, dude, you did it, right? And like the confidence boost that they have of like, oh, I did it, right? Like I accomplished this thing. And so we try to create this incredible experience at the end of camp that, again, leaves them with this, one, desire to come back, and then two, this trust, right? The whole experience was built on, we're here to help you get better. We want this experience to be full of joy and something that grows them as people and players. And so, that's a long, roundabout way of saying, love that book, The Power of Moments. And it's been super helpful for me taking some of those ideas personally, right? And figure out, how do I do this well with my family or my wife, but then do professionally into business camp context of, hey, how do we do these things that work to, grow trust and leave lasting memories with these people that we're serving?
Yeah. Which is, in a way, it's a form of vulnerability and getting that deeper connection with another person for whatever reason. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we've been on for a minute, and I think the biggest takeaway here is the way that trust and engagement work. It works no matter the age, the gender, it still comes down to understanding and knowing another person, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The relationship, the connection, like if you don't have that, there's coaches in sport that succeed at a decently high level that don't care about that, or maybe don't as much. But I think that you can care about that and still succeed at a high level. And I'm like, what's the cost of that? And at the end of your coaching or leadership career or business career, it's like, great, you made a lot of money, but you don't have any relationships here. Like what was this all for? You know, like I hope that when I die, I've got some former players at my funeral. You know, the coach that impacted me the most in my journey and in high school, I've told my wife on multiple occasions, and I don't know where we'll be in life, but when he dies, I'm going to be at his funeral. And I know that maybe that sounds morbid, but I don't know if I could pay someone a bigger compliment than that.
Yeah.
Like when you pass away, I'll be there to honor your life.
Yeah.
Right. And so, when you talk about that resonates deeply of like, hey, at the core of this is people and being willing to connect with them, put yourself out there, build trust, real relationships. Yeah. That's what success in every of your life is like. Are you willing to get real in these relationships?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I want to suit up as a kid again. I want to go to the camp. So for those that are listening and they're in Northwest Arkansas, how would they find your camps?
Good question. RYGathletics.com, or you can go to, if you just Google Nike Sports Camps or go to ussportscamps.com, you can find all of the camps there. We operate camps in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Wisconsin. We're going into Kansas, Louisiana, Alabama this next summer. So we're kind of growing regionally all over the place. And so, our website, rygathletics.com, you can see all the camps that we're operating. There's tons of Nike sports camps all over the country. We don't operate all of those. We're just one of their many operators. And if parents want to reach out to me, they can just Google my name. My contact info is out there. They can reach out, fill the contact form on the website, et cetera. If they have questions, happy to answer them. If there's, business leaders, business owners that have questions, thoughts, ideas, want to come watch how we do camps, anything, I love sharing with others and trying to help others on their journey too. So people are more than welcome to reach out.
thank you for being a guest on the show. This has been great.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be great,
Yeah.
but it was everything I thought it would be.
Thanks,
My
Alan.
expectations were met.
I appreciate that. That's good, man. We try to deliver. Yeah, I appreciate you. Seriously, what I said at the beginning, I really mean just your willingness to give and to help others with no expectation of anything in return, no monetary reward attached to it, just to help others. I'm so appreciative of that and admire that a ton.
Great. Well, thanks for being on.